and Plants Extravaganza, right? This is, like I say, a yearly event here, a yearly affair here. But today, something is going to be very, very special. Why? If you have watched YouTube and if you have very special attention towards this channel, which call himself the Only Plants, all right, Only Plants, you will know who is Sean, all right? All the way from Indonesia, Jakarta. He used to be a former fashion photographer, but in 2019, he started to have some intimacy with plants. And that was how his journey was started. He might be a late bloomer, but sorry, sad to say, he has over 1,000 plants within a span of 1 year in his collection. So he has a lot of channels which features his journey in his plants, or should I say planting journey. So he is an expert right now. If you're not sure, no problem. All you need to do is join us here at the common ground area where you see there's a green carpet here. You can ask him any question regarding our plants. Like, questions like how do you actually do a proper propagation of a plant, things and stuff like that. If you have a lot of house plant at home and you don't know which are the plants that you might need to let go, because I will say it is not easy to take care of many plants in your house, exactly, right? So Sean will be here to help you to answer all your burning questions. But like I say, this is the last day that he is going to be here. Because why? Tomorrow he'll be back to Indonesia. And after that, next week he'll be flying to Philippines and Thailand. So dear shoppers, if you are here and if you are plant enthusiast, where you are immature, no problem, advanced, no advanced, no problem. You know why? Because Sean is here to help you to get you kickstart with your planting journey. So if you are here today, I will beg you, don't miss this great opportunity, because we don't know when will we be able to invite Sean back again. Okay, are we live now?
Yeah, question. Are we live? Okay? First of all, hi everyone who's joining us live. I hope you can hear us. We're a microphone. So wherever you are in the world, please tell us where you're from and what time it is over there. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know most of you guys will probably be outside of Singapore, but for those of you in Singapore, we are here in Suntec City, Pets Plants Extravaganza. There's a lot of plant vendors here and also pets as well. And in today's Q&A, we will answer some plant-related questions from all the way from beginners to more advanced plant parents.
That's right. Okay, do me a favor. Josh, how many viewers do we have right now? Do we have people online already? All right, good. Okay, people that are listening and tuning in now, besides the like and share, please do me a favor. How do we sound? Are you able to hear us loud and clear, audibly? Sean, say something, please.
Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3. Because it's a microphone, it's also a recorded microphone. We're not sure if you guys are hearing well. But the session will run around 20-30 minutes. So if you have any questions, we're going to prioritize the audiences here who are watching first for their questions. But if not, we'll just throw the question to the floor where you guys are. So feel free to ask anything and we might get to it.
Yes, wherever you are, any place, any part of the world, any question regarding more plants, hit us right now. So to our followers here on the social media, please help us to share, please help us to like, all right? If you have missed out any topics, because Sean was here already yesterday, all right? You can go to our website, go to our social media, Instagram, Pets and Plants Extravaganza, to take a look at the video feed from yesterday, all right? So if you are joining us here right now, do help us to like and share, okay? Because we want to know what are the questions that you might have, okay? You might have missed out yesterday, but today is the only time that you have or we have for Sean. He's flying off tomorrow. He's going to Philippines and Thailand, all right? So this is the only time to catch him here physically, all right? So to the people who are shopping around here, join us here, okay? Any questions about your plant, all right? Okay? So if you're wondering where we are, all right, if you're in Singapore, you still can catch us here because Sean will be here for the whole day.
Yeah.
I hope he will stay, all right? I'm going to buy you lunch or dinner, I don't care. So people, if you're at home, don't worry. We will be here at Suntec City Convention Hall 401 and 402 all the way to 9 p.m. We still got one more day to go. Tomorrow, Sunday, going to be the last day. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to start now. Let's see how.
Yeah, we've got people from West Coast America, from Australia, Central Australia, someone from Saudi Arabia. Amazing. Quite a good variety of you guys. Thank you so much. And I know somebody asked whether I've made a hybrid of a Monstera yet. First of all, I don't make hybrids because I don't have time around my house, but I do tour a lot of breeders, so I visit a lot of their nurseries. I've only come across one person who has claimed to breed Monsteras. I mean hybridize them. Monsteras are notoriously difficult to hybridize because they don't flower very often. There's not as many varieties of Monsteras as there are anthuriums and philodendrons. But we might see some interesting Monstera hybrids come in, but we won't see as many as the other genus. Okay, and someone from Mississippi said hello. Hello back at you. It must be very late where you are. Thank you for tuning in.
How late?
All right.
How late?
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free. I'm actually looking at your questions live on the screen, but if not, we'll go to our audience questions.
Yeah, seems like the audience are having lunch right now. Okay, I think we're going to start right now. If the audience that you are tuning in right now, okay, don't worry, just sit up with any questions. No question is too silly or too, heretical, because why? Sean will be here with his best to help you to answer anything all about plants, all right? Okay, so first question I have here, okay, because Sean, we know that you are from this area here, that means Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, and we share the same tropical climates. So one burning question is, what are your top tips for keeping rare plants thriving in tropical climates?
I would say the number one factor would be understanding light and the lighting in your apartment or in your house or in your garden, because light is their food, whether it is natural light from sunlight or if it's light from an artificial source like your light bulbs. So understanding light and supplementing them when necessary is important to make your plants thrive. A lot of us have less light than we think, and in some cases, some part of the window or a part of the garden that you place your plants may get direct sunlight. Even if it's like 1 hour of the day, it might burn the plant. So just understanding light levels and taking your time and observing, being sensitive to your environment is the number one tip. The number two tip before you get into anything else would be watering. Most of the tropical house plants, especially the rare plants that we grow today, they need to dry out completely between watering. And the biggest problem with us living in Southeast Asia is our high humidity. So if you keep watering that plant and it's constantly moist and the humidity is high, you will probably drown it or rot it or both. So, and of course the next you might want to look into your potting media and pests and other kind of management. But once you get the hang of it, it really isn't that difficult. A lot of the plants have largely similar care requirements.
So I understand that you say time. What is the time frame for a layperson to actually understand the right condition or the right water temperament for watering the plants, especially for the rare plants in our tropical climate? Is there a time frame? I mean, like how long? Okay, no, I mean, how long it took you to fully understand, to be able to gauge? Yes.
I think it really depends on each person. Some people are more sensitive to the environment and the needs of other living things. Some of us are blatantly more, not ignorant, that's not the right word. We're not as sensitive, because we have other things going on in our lives. Some of us have relationships, businesses, work. Some of you have children, so kudos for you who have pets and children and still manage to take care of your plants. So for me, I'm a single guy. I live alone, and this is my line of work. So for me, I can keep an eye out for my plants a lot more. So I learned very quickly, but it really depends on each person. But take your time, whatever journey you're on, take your time. And if you kill some plants, don't worry about it. They forgive us. Keep trying. As long as you learn from your mistakes, you deduce what you did wrong, just keep trying. And then if you're a plant grower, share your cuttings, share your babies with other newbies, and just keep the giving going, because the plant hobby is a giving hobby.
All right, just a silly question from me. If your plant die, do you bury it or just throw it away, or you cremate it?
Usually we just throw it away. It actually, for plants, they usually just decompose on its own. So they will just Technically, you can practice composting if you are into that.
Okay, plant posting?
Composting.
Composting, meaning to say dry it and keep it, is it?
No, composting means you wanna have a compost bin, and then you have like earthworm or use chemical means to let it break down in the bin,
okay.
and turn it into compost where it becomes a fertilizer basically.
All right, okay. We have one question here online from Alana Bryant. Okay, it's regarding watering. So the question is, Sean, I have had lots of success with growing alocasia in water. All right. So am I just lucky, or is this something normal?
All right, so Alana, that's a very good question. Alocasias are something that is coming up quite a lot lately. There's a lot of interest around alocasias because of a lot of hybrids and variegated ones coming to the market. So when you grow any plant, any aerates or most plants in water, they will produce water roots. So there are three types of roots out there. One is aerial roots, which we are familiar with our climbing aerates. One is the soil roots, and one is the water roots. Each root type has very different properties, and you need transition period. For you, your alocasias most likely have developed water roots if you keep them in water the whole time. So this is okay, but for a lot of plants, including alocasias, I would not recommend to grow them permanently in such a way, because the water roots are very different from the soil roots, which will make them stronger. They will produce corms and babies when you grow them in a potting media. But in water, the roots are probably more mushy. They will not take in nutrients as well. But it really depends. I mean, a lot of people grow semi-hydro for alocasia, and I believe that's a sweet spot where the potting media is slightly constantly moist, but then you also have the rooting element to it, where the alocasia can actually root into it and put out baby corms, because a lot of us, when we want to grow alocasia, we want those babies to come out. So, but let me know if you have managed to grow corms for your alocasias in water. I'm skeptical about it. I have a feeling they will not put out corms as readily. So that's my thought on allocation. Feel free to DM me for more.
Yes, please DM Sean for more, or you can follow him on his channel, Only Plants at YouTube. Now I have one more question. Okay, Sean, I'd love, this is from Lennon Meringue. Sean, I'd love to know your opinions on which systemic insecticide would be best to use in a greenhouse setting for tropicals.
Okay, first of all, everyone is coming from different regions of the world. We have different pest pressures and also different pest control solutions. So something that is applicable here, for example, in Singapore, you guys use a lot of Sparkle G. That is not available in Europe and the US. It's banned. And some of us, we use neem oil, which is a natural means of of getting rid of pests. But I understand, if I'm not wrong, in the UK or somewhere else, that is also banned. So number one rule is find out what product is available in your area that is legal.
Okay.
And then, of course, you want to read the label properly. For me, I rather dilute it more than what the label says, because you can your pesticide could be too strong for your plants. So dilute it and switch between the brands. So you want to try, if where possible, natural and also chemical means. And when you do chemical, make sure you have your gloves and your safety goggles on. You don't want any of that chemical getting into your body. So I recommend switching between natural and chemical, or even between different brands. This is just because if you use the same brand throughout the year and over the years, some of the pests may develop immunity to it. Imagine if you are like 100 spider mites, and then you kill 99 of them, but one of them actually somehow survived that brand, and this one would have higher immunity to that particular brand. And if this one make offspring of another 100 babies, maybe the next generation 10 of them might be immune. So that just keeps passing it down. So it's advisable to switch between the different products.
I hope this answers your questions. Quickly, we have Jade Fowle from all the way Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Now, the question is, okay, what's the one plant you love but doesn't love you back?
Oh my God.
How many times have you tried with plant but come to realize it's not a match?
Okay, so actually this is a very, very good question. In fact, I should probably make this an episode. I have a list.
Yes.
I have a list of plants that I cannot grow, but here's the fundamental is that there are plants that most of us simply, no matter how hard we try, we cannot get it to thrive in our condition and in our care style. And that is okay. So just to let you know, there are some plants that you guys might not, be so good at. For me, I think the number one that comes to my mind is Fitonias. Fitonia is a nerve plant, and that is something that we have a lot here in Singapore Gardens, and a lot of you guys grow them well, but I've tried them different. I'm always rescuing them, by the way. There's one going on right now in my house that I'm rescuing. So they're always coming back to life, and then they're declining, they're coming back. So Fittonia is my number one headache, but I really love to have that plant around, and I love the challenge. So maybe someday I'll get it, but for the past 4 or 5 years, that's a plant that I have not had any luck with.
I see. So a lot of the issues start with the climatic elements, right?
Yeah, it could also be luck. It could also be the starter plant. Maybe the plant that you already have is already, it's not as healthy. So maybe I just need to pick up a new batch instead of saving that one over and over again. There's a lot of possibilities.
All right.
Or maybe it's just a plant that you're not suitable with.
I see.
Yeah.
So for those of you who just joined in, tune in right now, we want to welcome you to Pets Plants Extravaganza here, happening at Suntec City for 142 Convention Center. And sad to say, today is the last day that Sean's going to be here. Sean, the botanist, Only Plants. If you have watched his YouTube channel, he's here to answer all your questions. Now, I want questions from CL. Okay, what should we do once we bring home the imported plants, all right? From this fair, right? I presume you are saying this current fair that you bought something from us, imported plants, like maybe our vendors from Thailand, Ecuador, Vietnam, Malaysia, or even Taiwan. When do we report or keep it as it is for 1 week before report? Should we immediately remove old media to rinse clean?
All right, so a few answers here. First of all, if you can bring it back with the media as it is, with the potting media intact, good for you. You're one of those lucky few. But for most of the countries, they don't allow the importation with the original media, so they would probably have to be cleansed by the root or brought in with sphagnum moss or other media. So in case, based on this question, you are able to bring in the potted plant back, I would not recommend to change the media unless you suspect that there might be some fungus or pests or other issues. In which case, I do recommend to treat it as it is. If you have pests or fungus or anything, just use fungicide and also use pest control. That will usually take care of everything. Of course, we hope that you're not bringing in pests and pathogens through imported plants. That's not the right thing forward. So the person who is selling the plant will obviously, hopefully, have treated the plant so it's clean. And then I would also, when you bring it back, try to figure out where the plant has been growing before you bought it. As a seller, the kind of condition, if it's used to high humidity, it's used to being outdoors, you want to try to replicate it and then slowly introduce it to your home environment. This could include, if you need high humidity fast and to rehab plants, putting a clear plastic bag around the pot, and you want to tie it with a rubber band. So you want the plant to be receiving light from the clear plastic bag, but you want to seal in the humidity inside. So it's like 99% humidity inside, because high humidity will help rehabilitate the plant. It will minimize water loss from the leaves, but it will also encourage rooting, which is what you want to do when you have a stressed out plant. So just exercise caution. Just also, it depends on the type of plant, the species of plant. So there's a lot going on there. So there's not a one-size-fits-all answer for this.
I think to better help us to answer your questions, if you can, just let us know which region, which country you're from. So maybe Sean will have a better understanding of your climate to answer you better. All right, I have one very long question here from Mr. Nawaf Alnadi. I got very busy traveling for more than a month, and I wasn't expecting to stay overseas for more than 5 weeks, basically. Thanks for the weather here. Rest in peace to most of my houseplants, but surprisingly, some of them are still alive, but in a horrible stage. All right.
Okay.
So, what is the best approach to get them healthy and revive them again? Is there a nutrient or formula that I could use that help?
All right. So there's also a few layers to this question, so bear with me. Number one, it really is important to know how they are hanging on to their dear life. Are they underwatered? If I'm assuming they may be indoors and they may not be receiving enough water, do not douse them in water. Do not drown them in water, because if they're used to being dried out, you might want to introduce water a little bit slowly to the plant. And also you might also want to consider pruning out any of the dried or dead roots or dead leaves of the plant and kind of rehabilitate it. But for general rescue of plants, and I'm assuming it's tropical plants, I do recommend the method I talked about before, where you keep them in a bag, a plastic bag, and don't keep it too wet, but you want the humidity to be high. So this will really give them, imagine if you're in an air-conditioned room with a nice blanket over you. That's the kind of comforting feeling that they feel when they're in high humidity and they're receiving decent amount of light. In terms of the final question, any kind of nutrient or formula, a lot of people swear by the vitamin B1 from Thailand, although I found that it didn't really help. But I'm a very skeptical person. So another group of experienced growers have recommended the HB101, which has a strawberry logo. It's come from Japan, but there are distributors all over in Taiwan and Singapore and Indonesia. So HB101, they say, you dilute it and you spray it on the leaves and the roots. That should help rehabilitate the plants. And a lot of the legendary growers do swear by it.
So it's not 100% guaranteed.
No, I think it, but here's the thing, it's really fun to rescue a plant. It's very, very satisfying when you see them perk back to life. And yeah, so first of all, forgive yourself for the plants that didn't make it. And number two, try to rescue them where possible. But if not, it's absolutely okay to start again. And maybe before you travel next time for prolonged periods of time, consider doing other things. For example, you could keep them in a bathroom, keep a bit of the humidity on, and do a timer for the light on the bathroom so that they're not dried out completely. They're in high humidity. That could last maybe 2 to 3 weeks time.
I see.
And they will still get some artificial light. I mean, the idea is to keep them alive and not thriving when you're on a long journey like that.
Well, I have a very unique question down here from someone, Lennon Meringue. I think you have asked a question before, but his question right now is, Sean, are you into cut flower gardening at all? And if you do, he say he bet you to make amazing bouquets.
I mean, actually, I do. I'm a very natural at styling plants because I used to study fashion design and I work in design. So I'm very good naturally at floral arrangements, but that is not something that I do a lot. Sometimes I feel bad when I'm like cutting out a flower or a leaf and I know they will not make it, but I do love water propagation, and I always like put my propagation sometimes in nice vessels and I can kind of display them around my living room while I'm waiting for them to root.
Well, once again, if you're online right now here, if you're from Singapore, don't forget to join us here live at the Suntec City Convention, Hall 4142, Pets and Plants Extravaganza. Right now, we are answering a lot of questions from online, and right now we have somebody from Us Hatch, okay? Like I say, if you can, let us know which region you're from so that it can help us to empower Sean to understand the climate that the region you're in so that he'll be able to better answer your question. Us Hatch has said, hello Sean, can you share some plant vacation tips, proofing tips, and what are your thoughts on semi-hydroponics and lacquer, if any?
Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful. Okay, first of all, my first tip for plant vacation is have your best friend, a neighbor come in to do a round of watering. That's like, if you can, but most of us, we cannot. But if you want to travel a lot, like it becomes a regular thing, you might also consider doing your own hacks. I've been in if you watch my Penang episode in Malaysia, there was a house plant collector that used a drip system that he came up with to put each drip into each pot, so it will automatically sprinkler and it will automatically water the plants. But of course, that's not available for most of us. The most dire, the most desperate way to save all your plants, again, is to group them together in one area so you raise the humidity. Make sure they're not receiving too much light so they're not drinking that water as much. And then you could either put them in a bathroom where you have a little bit of water in the bathtub so it's always kind of humid inside. Keep some light on so that the plants are still, they're feeding off the light. You don't keep them in complete darkness for a week. They will not forgive you for it. And then there's quite it's actually an episode idea. If I might get to it at some point, but it's too long to answer in a Q&A live, but possible episode idea. And then for the next part, what are your thoughts on semi-hydro and leca? I think it's been a while since I mentioned semi-hydro and leca, but I personally don't like it, only because I love watering plants. I feel so good when I'm watering them every day, every other day.
Therapeutic.
It's very, very therapeutic to do something, and the action of like spraying, the action of like just a pot that is dry that needs watering, that I'm actually watering, it feels really, really good. Sometimes when I go in public, I see other, thirsty plants out in public, I almost want to water them too. It's like, it's a very crazy sort of
thought process.
It's an insatiable sort of like a
Occupational
thirst,
hazard.
like a thirst, like you want to help something along. So I have a nurturing spirit. So semi-hydro is not compatible with my personality, but it works for most of you. It works, especially traveling. If you're traveling a lot, semi-hydro might be a very, very good alternative to the growing plants. So yeah, but keep in mind when you want to transition your plants from a potting media to semi-hydro, the plant might not like it at first. It might even, maybe a good 5 to 10% of it might even not make it. They will probably not make it at all. So the idea is, the best tip is to transition to semi-hydro would be to propagate it. So you take cuttings and you stick it in the semi-hydro and let it root and then turn it into a new plant, but it would be used to the semi-hydro already. So now you would have 2 plants. So I think that's a good way to move forward.
Just hire a gardener.
Oh yeah, but not all of us can hire.
Can afford it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we have somebody by the name of Nikki Comet from Nova Scotia, Canada. Hi guys, I don't want to miss anything. What is this event? Will we see pets too? Are you discussing safety with plants or is it just the most awesome event? Just to answer this question, you don't need Sean, okay? This is a Pets and Plants Extravaganza happening only here in Singapore. Alright, okay, at Suntec City Convention Center. And if you happen to be in Singapore, which I don't think you might be, okay, don't worry, watch out, follow us on Instagram and watch out for our next Pets and Plants Extravaganza, okay? It's not every day that we can get Sean to able to invite him to here to answer Q&A. Okay, let's move on quickly to the next question. Okay, Sean, we know there are trends in fashions.
Okay.
Are there any trends in collecting plant species among collectors?
Yeah, there are plant trends, and plant trends are moving at lightning speed now.
What is the current trend?
The current trend, it depends on the good question. It depends on the region. Every region has different trends going on, but the thing is, every region, it conforms to a supply and demand. It also has a regional preference.
Oh.
Yeah, depending on climate and things like that. If you ask me, the global #1 trend would still be in the anthuriums. It's anthurium hybrids and things like that. So that's universal across, if you paint a wide brush stroke across the world.
I see. So with your experience, especially with over 1,000 plants under your belt in a home setting, all right, okay, what is the most fulfilling achievement that you have in a house setting for all of your plants? Because I presume you cannot house everything under one roof, right?
Yeah.
So how do you okay, this one maybe I will put here, this one maybe I put there. How do you do that? Maybe there are people that are just like you who has a lot of plants, but sometimes they are not able to organize the plants ideally. So what is your special advice to them?
So for me, I find a balance between aesthetics and also their well-being. First of all, what we want to place a plant may not be conducive to their well-being. But here's the thing, when you have many house plants, and I do, and many of them have multiples, which means I do have insurance, because I'm always propagating. When I buy a plant, there's always a duplicate of it somewhere. So if I lose this plant, I have a backup copy of it. So for me, I tend to go more with the aesthetic part, especially if you see my green wall now. A lot of the plants are up there. They're the backdrop for my YouTube filming, and also when I go there, I can also study the plant. I water them easier on the wall, just hose them down. But not all of them make it. And then sometimes when we don't, we have to make the tough choice of just, okay, this plant does not belong to the wall. We're going to move it somewhere else. So that process for me is fun. I love styling with plants, and I love finding out what works and what don't work, so I can share the tips with you guys.
So you shift them randomly all the time?
All the time.
I see. So one burning question is that, okay, so you have a lot of plants, over 1,000 plants in your home, and which is the most challenging plant in your collection, and how do you provide extra special care for it?
I'm just gonna say a group of plants, because it's hard to pin down the exact species, but for me, I'm terrible with cacti succulents. A lot of them just eventually rot at some point. And actually, I can think of one plant now that I'm always struggling with, and it's an easy plant, and that is the Aglaonema. Me and my gardener, I do have a gardener come in every day, we're both overwaterers, and that's not a good combination. I should find a gardener that's an underwater to balance it out.
A thirsty gardener.
Yeah, so no matter how much I tell myself and also remind him, do not water the Aglaonemas. It always rots, no matter what. So we're always having Aglaonemas back into water propagation at any given time. It's just a vicious cycle of like rescuing them. But that is one plant that if you are growing Aglaonemas, do not overwater them. They don't need a lot of water. They need more light than you think. That's the 2 tips for Aglaonemas.
So Sean, during this fair, this event here at Pets Plants Extravaganza at Suntec City, I noticed a lot of foreigners too. Mm-hmm. So one question is that how can they acclimate plants that were recently shipped to a new environment?
I think we answered this question slightly earlier before. It depends on how they were shipped. Some of you guys are able to bring it in your suitcase, because some countries allow that. Some of you have to ship it, so it goes into like 1 week inside of a box, a mailing box with no light or whatever. Slowly, if it's in a box, slowly acclimate. Do not shock it. Do not put it, into good lighting and all that, because it is still shocked. So I would say slowly acclimatize it to your environment. And the rehabilitation process should also be slow and patient. Do not stick them to a good environment, like the perfect ideal environment too soon. Do not water a dried up plant too vigorously either. It's used to being dry, so you want to introduce the water a little bit slowly. Humidity is the best way to rehydrate them, high humidity, and not just drowning them in water immediately out of the box.
I see.
Yeah.
So Sean, understanding from your previous career, you study fashion, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So aesthetically at home, I think it should be very easy for you to randomly put plants here in this position, in this area, in this sector. But for those lay person who doesn't understand about like not even fashion, but creativity, composition. That's right. So is there a way for them to learn, or is there a video that you're doing to teach them, hey, this is what you can do to better display all your plants in a certain, I don't, can I say fashion?
Sure. So I think this kinds of styling aesthetics, it cannot really be taught. I think it's something that everyone has their own taste of how they want your plants to be organized. Some of us want to be super neat, like you want to, put your plants based on color, based on size. Some of us, we want to be a little bit more textural. We want to express ourselves a bit more with composition. For example, I know Kaylee Allen lately has been back to doing a lot of plant videos, and I noticed her backgrounds are really beautiful. She has a natural eye for styling. I don't think she's ever done styling videos. And for me, personally, I used to do a lot of styling for my plants in the background. So if you watch my old videos, you will see a lot more styling in the video. But lately, I've been doing so much traveling that a lot of my contents are outside. But I miss those. I really love working with plants and moving them around and having like a table full of plants that is like well curated. They're placed in a nice manner. But I don't know if this is something that anyone can teach per se. It is something that you just have to do yourself. And if you love it, chances are other people would love it too. So
I see. Yeah. So the creativity has to come from the inside, not from the outside.
Yeah, or you could also take inspiration. Of course, you could watch, come to exhibitions like this, or if you watch some of the garden shows, you can see how people lay their plants. When you're out in public, in restaurants and such, and if you see an arrangement you like, kind of take 5 minutes, absorb it in, and just know that someone put it there on purpose to look that way. So just kind of sit there and appreciate it and let the inspiration sink in.
Now, what about in terms of technology? Right now, we have so many things about AI, Chat, GPT, stuff like that. So is there a technology, or is there a favorite way that you would like to use technology, like apps or devices, to monitor plant health?
Okay, so I am actually talking to a plant app, and it's an interesting app. So they are into journaling the plant growth, which I really like. Now, there are many plant identifier and plant disease type apps out there. I don't think it's really that simple. You cannot just take a photo of a plant and let AI tell you what's wrong with it.
Wow.
So for me, I think a lot of you guys DM me to ask me, my plants are this, the problem that I'm facing, what am I going to do? The first question I ask is, you need to tell me the history of the plant. where you're placing it now. Like if you have a window, sure, which direction is the window facing, north, south, east, or west? So a lot of these, like journaling, a lot of these sort of more kind of like a patient, when you're seeing a patient in a hospital, you need a chart to see, if the patient is allergic, what the patient went through before he or she came to your ward and things like that. So the history, the journaling is important, and for yourself and also to learn about other people's journals. So I think an app like this is pretty important, it's pretty useful, but so far I'm in the process of like agreeing to work with this particular app. So it might be something that's coming up.
Yeah, so you might develop a special app just for monitoring plant health?
Yeah, and then to share, not just to monitor your own plants, but this is an open journal. So
I see.
other people can see, let's say you have a plant like a peperomia or a begonia that you've grown in certain condition, but when maybe someone has it grown in other types of conditions, you could compare even with pictures. There will be pictures in the app. You can kind of compare to see how everyone's plant is doing. Is one of them losing color because it's indoors, or is one exfoliating because it's away from the sun? So we can kind of study. For me, when I look at a plant, I can tell what it's going through. The plant's growth, they'll tell you.
I see. Even their emotions?
Emotions, they don't really have emotions per se, but you can tell if a plant has pressure, you can tell. If a plant is placed in a place that is too much light or not enough light, or maybe the light is coming from a certain direction and they're just growing towards it, there's a lot that you can study from the growth of the plant.
Okay, so I believe it's always not easy to balance aesthetic appeal and practically when curating a plant collection, right? It all has to be based on your experiences and based on what you have read, what you have been exposed to, all right? It's very personal, right? Can I say?
Yeah. And my one tip is, it is a balance between functionality, between aesthetics, and also the well-being of the plant. So the number one tip is always propagate. Always make duplicates. This way you're not spending money, and also you can kind of experiment with the plant. Is it doing better here, or is it doing better over there? And the thing is, like, if you have extras, you can eventually also give it away to your family and friends. And maybe people who are struggling to grow that plant, if they can receive another one that's thriving, you could be benefiting someone else's plant journey. So for me, the number one tip for everyone, if you watch my channel, you probably are quite aware too. I'm a big fan of propagation. It is a big part of plant care. It is plant insurance as well in case you lose the plant, because all plants will eventually die. So you need to have a backup.
So do remember, Sean's channel on YouTube is Only Plants, alright? And we are here at Suntec City Convention, 401, 402, second last day, all the way to 9 p.m. And since we're on the topic of propagation, okay, what are the most common mistakes people do when they propagate plants?
The most common mistakes.
Sorry,
No,
I have to cut. Wait.
Okay.
It's not just I cut, I paste, I.
Okay.
Not that, right?
No. So for propagation, it's different for everyone, for every condition.
Okay.
The number one mistake that I see is you don't give your cuttings light. When you're propagating, the plant is still actively propagating. There's leaves, there's stem, their roots. You need to subject them to pretty good light. And then the second, it depends on whether you're propagating in water or in media. If you're propagating in media, it's about getting the media just right with the watering. You don't want it to dry out completely, but you also don't want to drown it. So it's a game of moisture control.
So how long does it take to propagate a plant?
Every plant requires different time.
Okay.
Period. It depends on many variables. I can speak some of them. First of all, the number one variable is the type of plant, the species. Some of them take a week to put out new shoots. Some of them will take a year to put out a new shoot. So it really depends. The next factor is whether this plant is healthy or not. So I do recommend, if you watch my videos also, to fertilize the plant maybe 1 week or a month before you propagate it. So the plant has stored in nutrients in the stem and in the leaf to give you those babies and the new roots. So a healthy plant will always propagate faster than a sick plant.
So during this time frame of propagating, can I say that the plant is at its lowest defense?
Yeah, you could say the plant is really in its survival mode. It's like the plant basically has to root and put out new shoots before it dies, because the cutting, when you make the cut, it's a ticking time. It's buying time. It's in the demise. But the problem is, how do we make sure it put out a new plant, a new vine, or new branch before its demise? So it's a race against time.
All right, so that's all the time we have, but we still have time for one very last question. So once again, Sean is going to be here today. Sad to say, like I said, this is the last day going to be here. He's flying off to Indonesia, then followed by Taiwan, Thailand and Philippines, I beg your pardon. And it's happening down here today, tomorrow, the second last day today, at Pets and Plants Extravaganza, Suntec City Convention 401, 402. One last question. Okay, how can plant enthusiasts best support conservation efforts for endangered species?
Ooh, the best way is to support your local botanical garden. Or if you find some foundation that you want to support, a lot of them are underfunded, so see if you can help them in a way. Do not actively try to buy these plants to try to save them in our homes. Unless, again, we mentioned in yesterday's episode, unless you're an expert, unless you're a specialist, let's say you're an orchid specialist, and sure, you could, get your hands on some of the more precious orchids if you're confident about growing them, propagating them, even like tissue culturing them. I know there are hobbyists for tissue culturing orchids that are endangered, and that's like such a noble effort. But if you're like 99% of us, including myself, we're just like hobbyists, I would say the best way is to maybe create awareness of this problem, have a conversation around it, repost some of the posts, or visit your botanical gardens, try to donate, or if you see any botanists in the field, you can also see, hey, how can I help you, and things like that. Yeah.
Well, sad to say that's all the time that we have here for today, and we have lots of good deals here for pet lovers, for plant enthusiasts. We thank you so much. That's all the time we have here. Well, once again, don't forget to subscribe to Sean's channel, Botanist, YouTube channel, Only Plant. All right. If you like, please help us to share. And like I say, that's all the time we have. We want to bless you with a good weekend again. And Sean, once again, thank you so much for coming all the way from Indonesia to Singapore to help out with all the plants, questions. So one thing is, if our viewers, they have any question, can they DM you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do take questions, but I will get to them in a timely manner. But I read all my DMs, so if you want to write in, or if you want to comment on my videos, that really helps with the algorithm as well. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Once again, thank you so much. That's all that we have. God bless you all. Bye-bye and good day. Thank you.
Bye.
Let me have it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Before I forget.